Total losses. What do I do? All right, everybody. I have a lot of fun with these. I think I found my new passion in life is doing collision industry video reactions, and this is one that I stumbled upon this morning. It's out of a shop out of Van Nuys, California. I have heard of the work. I am a fan. Kudos to the crew at at Auto Aid Collision. They made a cool video. I just think what it does is when typically when you have a consumer or a shop for that matter that I guess doesn't come out wrong, proclaim that they're an expert on the process, can get a little murky. So I have fun with these. There's some things where I'm going to challenge. I do have some things here that I agree with, and things that we can kind of point in the right direction and how the process goes. This is Bill from City Gritty and Collision Training Institute, protecting the industry and the consumer one car at a time. So, without further ado, let's get after it. Here we go. I'm not going to waste any time.
Hey guys, good morning. This is Mike with Auto Aid Collision. Today we're going to talk about how your vehicle is determined a total loss and what we're going to do about it. So stay tuned.
And let's move that ahead. All right, here we go.
Vehicle worth when you have an accident. In other words, if your vehicle is worth $10,000 and you have a damage on your vehicle that is appraised in excess of 70% of the value of your vehicle, that is then determines a total loss. Now, it varies from insurance company to insurance company, but majority of the times, as a rule of thumb, majority of them are looking at 70% value of your vehicle.
Stop. Here we go. All right. So, as I said earlier, he's in California. Don't want to go dive into too much specific state laws. The 70% rule, he's right in the sense that it could be a practice of the insurance carrier typically. However, it is not the rule. The rule is either replace or repair. Typical, right? Common 70%, high chance of that. State laws may dictate salvage, just to break down percentage. Some states are 100%. But what I want to also just state, just as an overarching theme, is that this is a California location, and he's reaching out to his clients that he could potentially grab in his market. So 70% is a general in that specific state. But if you're looking at repair versus replace, if the repairs exceed the value of your car, so you consumers that may be watching right now and you think that how could they total my car? It has sentimental value, which he's going to mention too. Sentimental value. Yeah, if the repairs exceed the value of the car, likely they are going to declare it a total loss. Financial. There are times which doesn't mention it at all, and I think he should. But I get why he didn't, because it gets a little intricate. So sometimes it'll be a constructive total loss where I guess in theory the vehicle just cannot be repaired, and the numbers just don't equate at the onset. But 70% could be a practice, but I'm not going to say it's the rule. All right, let's go.
So again, as an example, if the car is worth
All right, we're going to move
$10,000,
forward here. The next
so if
segment.
you have any pre-existing damage on your vehicle prior to getting your final check, the insurance company is going to deduct that value amount of your pre-existing damages from your total check
Let him
amount.
finish.
So if you've had a damage to the front of your car and you have some scratches or damages on your side, the rear of your car, and those damages are appraised at say $1,000 in repairs, and the total check you're supposed to get is $10,000, they're going to deduct that $1,000 as a prior or pre-existing damage.
Stop. All right. I will fundamentally disagree with that. So, some carriers, some do, some don't. If there's prior damage, let's say specifically, if there's a prior unrepaired claim, some carriers may opt to deduct a paid claim that's unrepaired on an existing loss. If it's a total loss, they will deduct a prior unrepaired paid claim. That is possible. To say definitively that they will 100% deduct all pre-existing damages is a bit strong. You must consider, as a general statement, that if the market of that vehicle, let's say it's a 30-year-old car, that it's typical that some components are worn, it may equate to the market. If there's a scratch on the bumper, does it affect the overarching value? Does it, or okay, let's go real deep on this. There's a term called reconditioning or basic reconditioning. So, you return your car on lease, you see damage is smaller than a credit card. It could be polished, it could be cleaned, etc. It's a basic recondition that could be done with a buffer and very light reconditioning. Where it, if you get one where it requires painting and requires repair, and it has to be, as I say, sent out to a shop to fix, then yeah, that's more of an extent of reconditioning that may affect a pre-existing conditional adjustment. Very possible. However, it's not an automatic. I want to make that very clear. It's quite possible and perhaps likely, but it's not 100% every time. All right, Mike, take us away.
And they will then cut you a check for $900. All right, first,
We're going next section.
please reference when they determine the value of your car when they're doing their evaluation. They go through a website called NADA.com, which is National Automotive Dealers Association. This is where majority, and if not most of the insurance companies go to then search for your year, make, model of your car. Based on that, they will then find an average value for your car. As soon as they get that done, then they will go to your car, determine if you have any pre-existing damage.
All right, I'm just going to stop there. That one is way too simple. So, do they use NADA or JD Power as we reference it today? Okay, sure, sure. It's an online valuation source that has a great amount of data set for sales and values. Yeah, absolutely. It's probably the first step that I take when I'm determining valuation. It's almost immediate. I'll get an assignment. I'm going to look at NADA JD Power first. But it is not by any stretch in any place on earth the definitive factor when determining a market value. Zero, Mike, you're wrong. To me, what really determines the market is the comparable vehicles. What does that mean, folks? You've all done it. You go on Kelly's Blue Book, you go all over the place to determine your value. The way to accurately determine a general market of your vehicle is by finding vehicles like yours with the same mileage, same condition, same options. That is the best way. And that's how carriers do it. Whether it's an electronic method through CCC, through Mitchell, through Solera and AutoSource, they do source comparables. Comparables are the baseline. Yes. Do you refer to the NADA or JD Power? Or it's NADA and JD Power. But do you refer to that? Sure. Can you refer to Price Digest? Sure. But comparables, finding a substantially similar vehicle as close to identical, which as close to your address of residence is the best way. And the bigger and the most vehicles that you can find within that range is the most accurate way to determine, and as he will refer, ACV, actual cash value, or market value. All right. Whew, got a lot out there. Let's move on.
Damages to your car, they will subtract the value of the pre-existing damages.
All right, let's
from the
move
value
forward
of
because
your.
we got into that.
All right, so now the insurance company calls you and they said your car is deemed a total loss. What are your options? The first and foremost,
Oh,
your option is to find out how much they're going to pay for your car. After that, you have a choice between either collecting a check from the insurance company and taking that money to go buy yourself another car, or the other option is the insurance company will give you the choice of you buying your car back. So
All right. All right. I can't. All right. Okay. So he's right. There's a lot more to that. And I'm trying not to stay within state regulation. I want to make it a general rule for anybody that might watch this. Okay. They typically will give you an option to what they call retain salvage, meaning that you keep it. Remember that there's going to be a deduction there for what they would get theoretically in an auction. So that's calling retaining the salvage. There's way more to that. First example for the consumer that's watching. If you have a lien holder, or in other words, if you owe money to a bank or to an entity that holds ownership of this vehicle, if you owe money, the likelihood of you retaining that salvage and keeping that car is very small. So they have a financial interest. The insurance company will first pay off that lien, and then, I mean, in a super rare case, allow someone to retain. Yeah, so rare. But let's say all else stripped down, you're able to retain salvage. You sure can. Absolutely. But there's also some things there. Some states may have stipulations where if it's safe to do so, if it's a flood, they may restrict you on that. If it's an airbag loss, safety restricted items that may cause a risk to the insurance carrier allowing you to retain, that may restrict you from retaining. So if those of you that have a total loss and you have an airbag deployed and you want to retain, you got to check in on that. So I know that you have a plan to possibly keep it. Just know if you have a lien holder, likely not, more than likely not. If you have severe safety or any safety items that may cause liability, it's not an automatic. So if you can say you can keep it, yeah. I'll say this for the entire union that it's an if more than a when. All right, Mike, keep us going.
So what they do is, depending on your car, the year, make, and model,
I'm moving
they
ahead.
can ask you for a dollar amount, $500, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, that they can deduct from your check that you're gonna
Yep,
get,
that's
and they will
salvage.
then give you the option to just buy back your car from the insurance. At that point, you can get your difference in the check, plus you can own your car. But now you have a car that is considered a total loss. So when you get your new title from the DMV will have your title, or called the pink slip, that it says salvage title across the top.
Okay, I'm gonna really jump ahead because this really gets into state law. And those of you that may be watching, it may be that it's all over the map as far as just I could say New York and 907A, which is a salvage title and has to be re-inspected. I don't want to get into those waters because the states vary in certain different rules. So I'm going to jump ahead on here. He may very well be correct specifically for California. In other states, it may be way different. So I don't want to react to this and give my opinion. But could be right. He does go on to mention. I don't want to cover it, and I give him credit for it. That he doesn't recommend doing this, and he's right because it may not the damages when it's declared a total loss may not reveal everything that it may need, and it's so true. It's a conversation I have every day. So before someone retains, I typically let them know that there's a huge exposure there. I always use the same adage, and he says it himself. There's a reason why it's declared a total loss, unless it's a really old vehicle that doesn't have a very large market value, and just the numbers just lent itself to being declared a total loss. I don't recommend it. If there's anything left for doubt, or there's anything there that they may or may not be sure of damage existing, yeah, don't do it. Just my advice. You're just going to be exceeding your payout on what you paid, and if you're going to pay out of pocket for something that you wanted to retain, yeah, sentimental value or not, just be prepared. because that could get really ugly. I've seen it too many times. So let's skip ahead a little bit.
So now you're going to ask yourself,
All right, I'm gonna go a little far ahead. Let's see where he's at.
shop to shop and the location of where you live, and therefore you have
Nah, I'm gonna keep
a
going.
vehicle with the correct VIN that's on the
That's gonna keep going. He's still talking about
to get your new title.
roadworthiness, and
Without those documents,
he gives his opinion here.
unless your car has some type of a sentimental value for you or
He's
your
right.
family, it's best for you to let go of that car.
He's
The
right.
reason why is that there can potentially be so many things wrong with your car, such as a frame damage, transmission problems, electrical problems,
He's right.
engine problems. So you wouldn't know really how bad the extent of the damages are until you actually tear the car apart and start doing the repairs and realize that there's so much more involved than you thought.
Yeah.
It's best for you not to buy your car back just because there's so much problems instead of you buying yourself so much of a headache.
Yeah. No,
All right.
I
So
agree.
a lot of people ask this question. I wonder what happens to my car after the insurance company buys it back from me. Where does it go? What happens?
My favorite part. Here we go. When someone thinks they know the process, he's right on a couple of things. Oh, this is the icing on the cake.
Well, there's places called Copart, 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 where the insurance companies take these cars that are deemed total losses and they go to these big yards that they have all over the country. And what they do is they auction your car off to salvage yards, junk yards, other dismantlers, and that's basically what happens to your car. Your car goes there, they take your car apart. If your car had a front end collision, there's still other components on your car that are still usable. The interiors, the headliners, the bumper.
All right. I do like this, but he's right about some stuff. So I'm not gonna say he's wrong completely. Uh, yeah, it's a little bit more than that. There are companies, just to name a few. So if it ends up being total loss and brought out to Copart, yes, it'll go to auction. Yes, dismantlers will bid for it and potentially buy it for parts. Sure. Some of these cars are shipped overseas and rebuilt. Yes, some are donated. So there's really good folks. State Farm has a fantastic program on donating cars to trade schools. Many insurance companies do. So it's not only that. And I mentioned State Farm specifically. I've had experiences in the past with great people that have donated, like the cars I mentioned before, that don't have structural, that don't have mechanical or electrical damage, that are able to be reconditioned and repurposed. So it's not the only thing. So a lot of people, when they get it, well, they're going to just sell my car and strip them down for parts. Yeah, you know, it's possible, and it's likely, but it's not the only thing. So if they think, if you're out there and you're thinking that the insurance company is getting rich in selling your total, they're not. Just a natural repurpose. Some are crushed for raw material. It's a lot. So to just say again that parts and they're going to be auctioned off, it's deeper than that. It's not just that.
Bumpers, suspensions, other undamaged parts on your car, and that's where these dismantlers make their money. They buy your damaged vehicle, they tear it apart, they sell those in parts, and that's where your car ends up at. All right, guys. So today we talked about what is considered a total loss and what happens.
Okay, so I think that wraps that up. Yeah, had a little fun with this one. But hopefully everyone out there gets a good sense of what it means when the car is a total loss. I think Mike, kudos to him for educating his customers. Typically, most shops don't typically educate their customers on a total loss because you got to remember it's not a production. A body shop gets paid to fix cars. Typically, once it's declared a total loss, it's like, all right, when is it getting picked up? I mean, it's true that I could tell Mike and his team really care about his customers. He's out there on social media talking about it. Great. What I wanted to do in this reaction is just kind of say, hey, listen, it's deeper than most. If you're in Idaho somewhere, your laws may be different than it is in New York or California, but the basics are essentially the same. The process is designed that way. So one, understand how a value is made. Two, do you really want to keep it or not? Three, that doesn't make sense. And four, clear your head on where it's going to go afterwards. It's not your concern. Trust me, it's in a better place. Don't repair it. If you have any question whatsoever, if there's any potential damages that may exist, it's it's a good video, and I'm glad I did a reaction to it. There's many more going to be there. This is Bill from City Gritty Inclusion Training Institute, protecting the industry and the consumers one car at a time.